Where the clockmakers come from. Okay, so where the clockmakers come from is, as chat is saying right now, from an interview with Ian, right? Ian was the first one who dropped that the universe most likely has first ones, and also that the universe has a clockmaker, or at least he alluded to the idea that there might be a clockmaker of the universe. And of course, he was referencing more or less the Matrix and the architect of the Matrix, so to speak. But clockmaker, just the guy who makes everything tick, right? The guy who put it all together in the first place. Now, whether or not that will turn out to be true, of course, is another conversation altogether. It is the sort of conversation where this might be something that Ian stated as an aside, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be factually, canonically true. There never need, or Blizzard doesn't have the need to ever introduce a clockmaker. And I do think that once we start talking about the clockmaker, and once we start talking about the idea of a clockmaker, we have to put into perspective that that would be the end of World of Warcraft, right? The minute Blizzard writes the story to the point where it all leads to one entity, that's sort of the end of it. Yeah, let's just be honest about that. That is sort of the end of the game, so to speak. So I really do think in that regard, I don't think Blizzard is going to get to the clockmaker soon. Now, when we talk about the first ones, there's a lot more that we can go into here, right? Talking about the first ones, we can draw from other inspirations. We can draw from other universes and say, okay, what if the first ones is in fact similar to, say, the Chaos Gods that you have in the Warhammer universe, or they have another type of god there, I can't remember now. They have like the god of murders. They have a shit ton of gods. I'm trying to think of all of them. But there's like the opposite side of it, like the life gods or the gods of life, I think, in a way. You can obviously go to you can go to H.P. Lovecraft's universe, and you can look at how that is set up. You have the outer gods, you have the old gods, or the older ones. I think the Elden ones is what they're called, right? You have the Elden ones. You have a shit ton of gods, right? That sort of make up a hierarchy of gods, and then you have in H.P. Lovecraft's universe, you have Azathoth sitting at the sort of center of all of this, and out of him flows everything else. But then, in H.P. Lovecraft's universe, something that's very interesting, if you look at the Elder Ones is the natural enemy of the outer gods, and yet somehow they're said to also come from Azathoth, but then there's also a new theory, or different theories that suggest that Azathoth doesn't actually dream all reality, he just dreams some reality, and that the Elder Ones actually exist outside of his reality. So you see how quickly we can get into the weeds and actually sort of lose track of reality, because we are talking about massive or mass scale universe, right? We're talking about trying to build a universe that would mimic something fantastic, right? Which is nearly impossible to do, yeah? So in H.P. Lovecraft's case, the big reason why all of this sort of falls apart is because H.P. Lovecraft only wrote a small slither of his own universe. It was other writers that came in and wrote more about his universe. But if you look at the 40k universe, it's a mess, right? Just weeding through that is an absolute fucking mess. This is why I've spent the last month and a half reading about the 40k universe, and I still feel like I don't have a fucking clue what's going on there. Because it's all over the place, because it's a living world. Things change, things constantly move, things constantly go in a different direction, yeah? So it is really difficult to sort of tie things down. Now, when we're talking about the first ones, I think it's easier to tie down. I think in World of Warcraft, the first ones... So the way I look at the game, the way I approach the lore is as follows. If I'm dealing with an entity that we know nothing about, I'm dealing with an entity that doesn't have a description on a website somewhere that gives us some sort of insight into what this could be. I like to sort of take a step back, right? And say, okay, what do we know? And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about tonight, looking at what we know in order to figure out what we don't know. So the first ones, first and foremost, is an entity that we, massive question mark, don't know. But what do we know? Well, we know about the cosmological forces. We sort of know how the cosmological forces impact and influence one another, right? We sort of know how they communicate and treat one another. And then, of course, we know us, the mortal races, or the great beyond races of the universe, right? That's sort of what we know right now. So looking at what we know, is there a way to extrapolate from what we know into what we don't know? That's the big question. And I think we can. I think if we look at the cosmological map, and instead of looking for it, I'll just ask you guys, by now you should be able to see it in your mind's eye if you've been here for long enough. Look at the cosmological map. Now, in your mind, zoom out. Okay? Just keep the structure of it, but zoom out. Imagine there's pages that continue all around the small cosmological circle that we see. What would those pages look like? There's a couple of ideas here, right? What if there's more structures like the one we have with different universes? That's entirely possible. But even then, we have to zoom out more, because all we've done now is we've zoomed out to the point of the multiverse. Now we need to go further, because the first ones would exist not in the multiverse. They would obviously exist above the multiverse, because they are the ones who created the multiverse, so to speak. So we would have to zoom out even more. Okay? So how do we do this? Well, if we continue to zoom out, we have to ask ourselves the following question. When humans design something, right? Think of anything that humans design. How do we design it, chat? How do we design anything? When humans design anything, we design it with our own biases in mind, right? So, for example, look at when we design robots. How do we design robots? We could make robots look like anything. We could give them 8 legs or 10 legs or 20 legs. Why do we give them 2? We give them 2 because that's what we are used to, right? We make things in our image. Religion states that we are made in the image of God. God made us in his image. The reason for it is that's in our limited way. The only way we can think of designing something is by designing it with us in mind. So how would we design it? It's our own biases that play into it, right? We are constantly influenced by our own biases. So is it really unbelievable to believe that the first ones would do very much the same as humans do? I think they would. I think the first ones would design their universe very similarly to how they've designed their own. Very similarly to how they've designed their own society, if you will. So I believe if you zoom out of the cosmological map, and now you're looking at the great universe around us, I don't believe that the first ones is a group of people that get along. And note the name. World of Warcraft. Every single species, every single thing we have ever met in World of Warcraft has always been at war with something else. Even the most peaceful, the pandas, they were at war with the void. War is essential to the story of World of Warcraft. So why do we believe that the first ones would not be at war with themselves? Can I ask, is there anyone in chat that doesn't, or that thinks that the first ones work together, they are not at war with one another? Let me rephrase that question. Chat, what do you think the first ones do? Not necessarily that there's a first one that looks like them, no. Because a lot of us we know is the result of Old God, Curses of Flesh, constructs from Titans, or just natural evolution, right? So there doesn't have to be a first one for every race of being, but the system itself. Pick their contest, who's bigger boss? Well, now they just sit back and watch the worlds burn. What if they're not sitting back and watching the worlds burn? What if they're actively involved in the world's burning? So imagine you have first ones that is in control, that decided that what they wanted to do is to create chaos. And then you have first ones who believe in order. Think about, I think the best way to describe this is think about the world. Think about our world right now. How many factions do we truly have in our world? I mean, if you think about any country, right? Think about the amount of people that follow their own sort of ideology. You have thousands, right? Just off the top of my head, you have the far left, right? Then you have liberals, yeah? I'm leaving out a lot because you have neoliberals. You have a whole fuck ton of people, right? In between the far left and the liberals, yeah? But you have just those two. You have the libertarians, which is sort of in the middle, sort of not in the middle. You have the centrists. You have the conservatives, and you have the far right, yeah? So you have, that's sort of the spectrum, if we can look at it that way. That is 6 groups right there that would gladly go to war with one another, because the far left and the liberals don't like each other, right? The far left and the liberals don't like the libertarians. The far left, the liberals and the libertarians don't like the centrists. They don't like anyone. No one likes no one, right? Everyone has an idea that their idea, so their own idea, is the best idea for the rest of the world. And this is not a political fucking class. This is not a political video. I'm not going into political science here. I'm just using very arbitrary, very easy to understand, because I can already see someone going, oh bro, what about this? What about this? What about this? I'm not going into every single political idea. I'm just giving you an idea of the factions that we humans have come up with. And I'm not judging any of those factions. You can be whichever one you want, right? I'm just saying, these are the factions that we have come up with. Why is it inconceivable? Guys, please stop bringing politics into it on a personal level. If you don't like Trump, that's fine. If you don't like Biden, that's fine. I don't give a fuck. And guess what? No one else cares, right? That's just your politics. You can scream and yell about the guy on your own time. Go make a Facebook post if you don't like the guy. I genuinely don't care. I have people that support Trump. I have people that hate Trump in this channel. I want everyone to be here for the lore, right? But the only way in order to get to where I wanted to go, I had to include some political idea. This is why I included the 6 most mainstream ones, right? Just so that we can have some kind of idea, yeah? So please leave your politics out of the channel. That's all I'm begging for. I don't give a fuck, right? I genuinely don't care. All right, so why do we believe that the first one somehow, they just all work together? No one else in our universe works together, right? We have 6 different cosmological forces, and they are all fucking at war with each other constantly, and yet, we are somehow going, yeah, but if you go above them, that's where peace exists. That's where these people work together to make the universe, right? It's like, no. I believe that even these first ones are at war with one another, and I believe that the cosmological forces is their armies, if you will. I don't believe that those first ones are tied to the cosmological magics. Let me just be clear on that. I don't think that the cosmological forces, sort of the first ones of chaos, for example, can only wield foul magic. I think, no, that's not true. They can wield any magic. They are first ones, but I do believe that they believe that the best route for the universe is chaos. And in this instance, we could call them the libertarians of the universe, because libertarians do believe out of chaos, greatness is born. Yeah. And again, not making a political statement. I'm not going into every nuance of what a libertarian actually is. I'm just fucking saying, right? They tend to agree or prefer chaos to structure and order, right? That's more a conservative thing. Structure and order is far more conservative than it is libertarian, even though I realize you can... Never mind, fuck it. I'm gonna get people who get triggered because I'm not saying the right thing about their side. So if you're triggered, just fuck off. I'm done. I'm done trying to pander to every fucking group. If you feel triggered, if you feel offended, that's your problem. Go deal with it in your own time. I'm just saying, we can look at chaos as sort of the libertarians of the universe, right? And we can say, that's how those first ones believed the universe is going to be saved. But it doesn't mean that they are tied to that power, right? They can still use whichever power they want. Yeah, they could still use whichever power they want. They could still delve into whichever power they want. They just believe that that is the best way to do it, right? They just believe that is the best way to do it. It seems like the elemental forces are distinct sides. A fire elemental is purely a fire force. I think the higher levels of magics are like, as you said. Well, when you come to the elemental forces, that's primal magic, right? The primal magics, that's the magic I believe that was used to shape the universe, right? So the primal magic it's at the baseline, if you will. It was simply used in order to sort of shape the universe. And Lily, I'm seeing that as a teacher. I understand your frustration. The thing is, I am the type of guy, right, that can listen to any opinion from anyone and never get offended by it, right? Like, you can legit stand here and tell me Pol Pot did nothing wrong. Yeah, let's use him instead of the H guy, because the H guy might get us booted. And I would gladly sit there and listen to your fucking opinion. I wouldn't get offended. Why would I get offended? I barely knew the guy. Well, actually never knew the guy. So it wouldn't matter to me, right? I would genuinely just listen to the opinion, and I would argue my side or my opinion, and if you didn't believe me, that's your fucking problem. The problem is most people these days don't have that ability. If you disagree with them, you're a fucking Nazi or whatever they want to call you, right? So I just get really annoyed at even discussing surface level politics on the channel. Like I just did, I wasn't talking about politics, but you see what happened. The second you say conservative liberal, people are like, oh, fuck this guy, fuck that guy, fuck this, the election. What? Dude, we're talking about politics in World of Warcraft, right? It's politics in World of Warcraft. What election? There's never been an election in World of Warcraft. I hate to break this to you guys, but there would be no election in World of Warcraft. Let's just be clear on this. In World of Warcraft, it's winner takes all. It's how I would select our real world presidents. Just FYI. If you wanted to have the most fair system in the world to elect a president, it would be a winner takes all. Battle Royale, last man standing, right? That way we know at least the guy that get to the top really fucking wanted to be there, yeah? And he gets 4 years and then he fights to the death again in the next one. That's how I would choose it. That's how it's done in World of Warcraft. So unless this vote took place in Azeroth, I don't want to hear it. I don't give a fuck. And I realize we always get new people in here, so I'll say this probably every single stream. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching a fat cunt sitting in his bedroom talking about World of Warcraft. I am the last person in the world that you should take political advice from. I am absolutely certain that you can make a far more informed decision about your life and your politics than what I could ever make for you. My opinion on this does not matter. End of discussion. You do what you think is best for your life. Don't fucking listen to me. Don't ask what my opinion is, because my opinion is worth less than dog shit. I am not here to preach to you. I'm not here to get you to do the right thing, because I don't even have a fucking clue what the right thing is. This is my bed where I sleep. This is my room where I live. Do you really think I have all the fucking answers? No. So just do whatever the fuck you want to do, and let's just get back to actual things that matter, which is World of Warcraft, right? That's it. Alright, so I truly believe that if you zoom out of the cosmological force, of the cosmological map, and you look at the whole universe around it, what you end up with is more divides on the outside. So you basically see those circles, the circles of the cosmological map. I believe there's bigger circles outside of them that tie into the first ones. And there's a giant war that we are in the middle of. That's what I believe the first ones are. And Liam, I hope that that answer is worth the $5 that you gave to ask it. I really hope that I did the question some justice, even though we went quite a bit around.